Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about new Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo DS. And a few things up front here. I guess, as always, there is a written review you can see before, after, or instead of this video review. I've linked it down in the description, so you can check that out if you please, when you please, as you please. And, sorry if I seem a little rusty. I haven't done a review for like a month, so hopefully I'm still okay at it. I'm going to try to cover everything that I can for this game, because I did play this over kind of a long period of time, going in and out of it, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get enough details in here. But if you're looking for the best details, I think I'm the most coherent in the written review, so consider that highly. I highly recommend that over my fucking voice, and the way I'm gonna fumble and mumble and just mess everything up. So if you're cool with that, just stay here. Let's hang. So, new Super Mario Bros. This is kind of interesting because, you see, we hadn't really seen a Super Mario Bros. Game in a while. I mean, like, now it's kind of silly, you know, because it feels maybe a little tired, and people are saying how, you know, well, oh man, new Super Mario Bros., I'm so sick of that, those games are so lame, they're so lazy and everything. But I think something that's worth keeping in mind here is that this is the first of the new Super Mario Bros. Games. We hadn't seen a truly new Super Mario Bros. Game in name since Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES, and we hadn't really seen a true new Super Mario Bros. Game just in general, and, you know, like in form, I guess, since Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. So, you know, after, you know, over a decade, it's probably about time to get back to that side-scrolling stuff, because, yeah, Mario branched off and did his 3D stuff, Luigi did Luigi's Mansion thing, you had the Mario parties and the sports and the RPGs, but they really weren't in a side-scroller, in a truly new experience. You know, outside of what you had ports and you had remakes, and that's the closest you got was like Super Mario Bros. Deluxe or some shit, and it was time. It was time to bring them back, and that's where we get new Super Mario Bros. And they decided to bring it back on the Nintendo DS, which is actually a pretty bold move, considering, you know, this is a handheld, and usually these games are released on consoles. So that's a very interesting and bold move. So the gameplay is pretty standard for a lot of it. I mean, the story, let's get that out of the way. Peach is kidnapped by Bowser and Bowser Jr., and Mario and Luigi have to save her, not those two. They have to save Peach. Oh, this review's going great so far. And that's it. So you go through levels and keep going into castles and trying to save Peach. And when you beat the castles, Peach keeps getting dragged away until the final castle. And spoiler alert, they don't get away in the last castle because you save Peach. So they don't get away with her. You get her. So, familiar stuff. A lot of familiar stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very similar and familiar to the older games. Things like, you know, you got your Koopas, your Goombas, you got Bowser, you got green pipes, you got red bricks. I mean, you got coins and mushrooms, fire flowers. You get the drill. There's a lot of that standard stuff in here. Yeah, it's just that we really hadn't seen them like this. It's a nice newer system, more powerful, higher resolution, and everything just has a nice shiny coat of paint to it, which I think looks nice. There's some old power-ups here, like, you know, the mushroom, the fire flower, and the star, the one-up mushroom. All of these make a return. But there are some new power-ups, one of which is the Mega Mushroom, which makes you really fucking huge, and then you can just run through the level, destroying fucking everything in your path, and killing enemies along the way. The only thing that's really safe is the solid ground, underneath you. And as you go, there's a meter that goes up, the more destruction that you cause. And after a certain amount of time, once your Mega Mushroom runs out, then however much destruction you caused, that's how much... I guess basically it determines how many extra lives you're going to get from that. So that's a pretty fucking awesome thing. It just feels great to do that, to use that one. There's also the mini mushroom, which makes you very small. I mean, you thought Mario was small when he didn't have a mushroom. Oh man, he is fucking tiny with this motherfucker. And what's cool about that is that with great smallness comes great mobility. You see, you can run around, you're pretty fast, you have a really awesome, like, it's fairly floaty jump, but you're able to jump pretty good distances, and you have a lot of air time when you're up there. You also move fast enough to run across the surfaces of water, which is crazy. How you move that fast? Mario is Jesus. Confirmed. And, you can also use it to get into some of these, like, there's some really tiny pipes and some small, like, little cracks in places for secrets that you can get to if you use it as well. The one other power-up is this, I'm going to call it a Koopa suit. I don't know what exactly it's called. I'm going to call it a Koopa suit, where you basically are dressed up kind of like a Koopa. You have a blue Koopa shell on you, and you can duck to protect yourself by receding into the shell, and then you can, when you run, once you get to a full sprint, you'll actually be spinning around on the ground like a projected shell. You can knock stuff over or whatever. You can kill enemies, and you'll bounce off of walls the same way a shell would. The only difference is that you can actually jump while you're in that as well. And you can stop yourself in it. Don't worry too much. You are able to stop yourself in that, so you don't, like, go off of an edge all the time that you use it. So, yeah, it's cool. That's another neat little thing you get to use, and it's some brand new power-ups for you. Speaking of those secrets, this game has a lot of secrets, kind of like Super Mario World, in that you can find secret exits, and there are star coins hidden in there, like Super Mario World's Dragon Coins. There are 3 star coins in each level, and there are midway checkpoints that you'll get to, that you just automatically get once you're at the midway point. And you can go and collect all these star coins, and they're done in order. So that kind of gives you an incentive to replay and check out all these nooks and crannies of everything. So that's there. Your techniques, well, I mean, you have a lot of techniques that kind of they just borrow from the Mario series in general. I mean, you had standard running around and jumping. You know, there's that stuff that's in every Mario game, and in most platformers that came afterwards, pretty much because of Mario. Jumping on enemies, that kind of stuff. But you can do the triple jump like you can do it in Super Mario 64, where if you time it right at, full speed, 3 consecutive jumps right when you hit the ground will actually give you a triple jump. You get higher after the second one, and then highest after the third one. You get some extra air. You can do the ground pound, also from Super Mario 64, by hitting down when you're in the air. You can use that to break blocks onto you and hit certain enemies and do stuff with that. And you can also do a wall jump, which is kind of inspired by Super Mario 64, but it doesn't work the same way. It works more like Mega Man X, where you can kind of like slide on the wall by holding the direction there, and you kind of slowly slide down the wall to slow your descent. And by hitting jump while you're doing that, you'll jump off and go towards the other direction. So that's how you do the wall jumps there, which I think are a little more reliable. It's an easier way to do them. So you have a lot of different techniques you can do, and that means that mechanically there's just a lot of things that are very interesting about this game, a lot of things to consider with these mechanics, let alone all the new stuff they actually throw at you in the game as far as unique obstacles and other such things. It's pretty interesting. One thing that's actually strangely missing from the game that I'm a little surprised about is the spin jump. That didn't make a return here, which I believe is in later ones, but it's just not in this one, and that's interesting to me. As far as secrets, as well, as I was saying, secrets can lead you to different things. Like secret exits can lead you to new paths in the overworld map, or they can lead you to those star coins sometimes. They might lead you to things like new worlds, because some worlds you can totally skip over if you don't find the exits to those, or the warps, because you can find cannons, and if you can get yourself to the cannons in these levels, you can use those, and they just shoot you over to a different world, as a way to get around faster. You can go back and play previous levels again, just like in Super Mario World. There are a lot of mushroom houses, much like Super Mario Bros. 3, where you can get power-ups and extra lives, and also there are things on the overworld where there are these little signposts where you use star coins because they take so many star coins to open them, and doing that can get you to more mushroom houses or to alternate paths or to just more levels to play. I mean, that's an interesting way to also incentivize getting the star coins rather than just, oh, it's a thing you can collect to say you collected them. So I think that's a neat thing that they added in with that as well. There are towers, which are usually in the midpoint of these levels, where you fight some incarnation of Bowser Jr. typically, or maybe one of his minions. And then there are castles at the end of each world where you fight, some bigger boss. I think there's also a few ghost houses. Maybe there was only one, but I think there were a few. And, there's a lot of familiar things in this game. There really are. It's just that they also throw in, like, the new spins on a lot of those things, and just the new presentation is enough to carry them through, I think, personally. And there's also just a lot of, the mechanics in there are pretty interesting to blend all of them together like this. And what's really crazy is that a lot of the levels are really varied. I mean, I hear people complain about how these games are so, like, stale, but maybe they just mean the later ones after playing all of these new Super Mario Bros. Games in a row or something, because I was playing this, and it seemed like almost every level was actually pretty different than previous levels. I mean, I think maybe the earlier stages were a bit easier, but hell, this game does give you way too many one-ups really easily, even if you're only moderately good at the game, which is probably me. Might be a little worse than that. Almost got all the star coins. I can still do it. I'm missing 2. I think I'm missing 2. So, take that. All you unlock for that is getting a thing next to your file name, so that's not necessarily worth doing unless you just want to do it. Maybe I'll do it later. We'll see. But yeah, like, a lot of these levels are pretty unique, and they have these cool different, like, obstacles and, like, gimmicks and, like, things in them that are so interesting. Like, it reminds me of Super Mario World with how much variety there is in the game. And I don't know. I guess I was really pleasantly surprised to see so many new things in here when I heard that it was so stale and repetitive and uninspired. I mean, maybe the later games aren't as good, but for sure, what I was playing in here was really fun, and I think that, I don't know, I think maybe you're just kidding yourself a little bit if you think that this stuff is tired in this game specifically, because a lot of these things are interesting and they're new, and, if they're not new, then they're really cool to see again for what they are, and how they've been reimagined slightly. They just look better. That's the thing. And all this is on handheld, no less. But, it's not perfect, there's this weird thing with the saving, where you can't just save anywhere. You have to either do one of those signposts where you spend the star coins to save, or you need to beat one of those significant things like a tower or a castle, which is kind of weird because this is a handheld game, so, if you just play a few levels and you're like, oh, I gotta shut this off now, you can't just, because you're out somewhere or whatever, you gotta put it away. You have to, like, put it to sleep and hope the battery doesn't die on you, because you couldn't save yet. Why can't they just let you save wherever? You can save wherever, on the map, obviously. Maybe not in levels, that would be kind of ridiculous, but being able to save on the map would be nice, wouldn't it? Which you can do once you beat the final castle. So that's weird. So my recommendation for that is, if you're going to go ahead and try to get all those star coins, try to beat the game first, then go back and get the star coins after, so you can save after each time you get all the star coins in a level, in case your game freezes like it did on me once, or, you have to shut it off or whatever, your battery dies or something. It's nice to have that there. It's also weird, the momentum thing is kind of strange to get used to, because it feels a little more like the original Super Mario Bros. Than it does, like the tight and responsive controls of Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario World. It feels a little more heavy and momentum-based, and it can be a little weird because you're sort of 3D-ish. It's still side-scrolling, but a lot of stuff is two-dimensional, but your characters, a lot of those are in like three-dimensional, so hitboxes can be a little awkward to tell sometimes, and with momentum and stuff, it can be a little awkward sometimes. Oh yeah, you still have the little thing where you can have an item in your item reserve, like in Super Mario World. That's still there. Forgot to mention that part. Also kind of weird that this is called New Super Mario Bros., yet you spend most of the time playing as Mario. They don't let you just pick. Like in Super Mario World on Game Boy Advance, they're like, well, this is one player, like, mostly going to be played by one person, probably. Yeah, unless they have our fancy cable to play two-player, which most people, I don't think, did. Easier to play multiplayer on this, which I couldn't do, because I don't know anyone else that has it. Sorry. But yeah, you can't, like, I don't know, you play as Luigi, he's not like a selectable character, like in Game Boy Advance, on Super Mario World for that. Instead, to play as Luigi, you have to hold L and R when you're selecting your save file, and then you'll be playing as Luigi when you play. That's weird. Why is he, like, a hidden thing like that? Just let me pick Luigi. I would have played this entire game as Luigi. If I could have. If I had known that from the start. And also, he plays exactly the same as Mario in this. He doesn't have, like, the fluttery jump or anything, so... why didn't you just make him a selectable, then? Why is he, like, a hidden secret in the Super Mario Bros. Game? You know, that's odd. And I don't know, that's just as a nitpick, obviously. Also, a weird thing is that you can't, like, go back to the main menu once you're in your game. You have to, like... Oh, wait, no, I did figure out. Yeah, you can do that. I think I did figure that out. I think. So, never mind that part. That's a lie. You just hit quit from the main map screen. Is it hiding here, or am I just totally fucking this up left and right? Alright, so, I guess the other thing I have to talk about, the elephant in the room, are the mini-games. There's a section for mini-games, which, again, there are multiplayer ones that I couldn't do because I didn't have anyone to play with. But there are single-player ones, and a good amount of them. They're split up into 4 categories. These are all based around using the stylus. So there are the action games, which are based on, you know, twitch reflexes, you know, and your just reaction time and your precision. Then there are puzzle games, which are more about thinking and trying to think your way out of stuff. Sometimes combined with, you know, the brain teasers are combined with a time limit, so you have to think fast. And then there is a category called table, which are, I mean, they're card games, or like casino-esque card games. And then the last one is variety, which is supposed to reflect said variety. But I feel like that's just the leftover games they didn't know how to place. So they put them there. And I think these are also left, I don't know which came first, if this or Super Mario 64 DS came first, but I think they share a lot of these mini-games, which is why you'll hear a lot of Super Mario 64, you know, songs and sound effects and stuff in these mini-games, which makes me think that maybe that one came first. And I don't know, it's, they're clearly just there, like, to say, hey, this game also can use the touchscreen thing, because that's why we have the system. And I guess it's kind of nice they didn't awkwardly try to force that into the main gameplay, because this is more classic, standard Mario Bros. Type gameplay, and I think it's cool that they could just do that with a more powerful system. It's probably a good idea, but I feel like they could have at least put these into, like, the mushroom houses, and been like, okay, do some of these, and that's how you get your power-ups, you get rewarded for beating these mini-games, right? I think that would have been a cool thing, kind of like Super Mario Bros. 3. I would have liked that. They didn't do that, and instead they just threw it on here as a tacked-on thing, kind of like the Nintendo 64's, hey, here's the multiplayer mode we threw on, so it says it supports up to 4 players. It's kind of that thing, where it's like, they want to check all the boxes, so they slap some shit together. It doesn't feel particularly inspired. It's totally unrelated. Most of the games are kind of boring, just duds. They're not that exciting. You play them and probably get bored with them right away. You can compete for high scores in some of them. Other ones, you're just kind of playing until you fail. And some you pretty much just play until you quit, more or less, because they don't seem to be hard enough for you to fail, but there's no actual win state either, so you just have to decide to quit after some point. And a few of these games are actually pretty addictive. I thought some of them were actually pretty fun. And you could kill a lot of time on them if you were just waiting around and didn't want to try to go into your map and play, your main file, because you're like, I don't know if I'll have enough time. I don't want to beat some levels and then not be able to shut it off. So you do that, or just for some variety, if you happen to have it and not other games. So it's neat to have them. The only major complaint I have with them is that this is a legitimate complaint, which may or may not be because my mic isn't very good because I'm using it on a 3DS. But there is a game where you have to blow into the mic to make it work, and it just wouldn't register. It just didn't do anything. So my mic has worked and other stuff, so I don't know. Maybe it's just broke recently, or it just doesn't work with this. I don't know. It's weird. So that one game is dumb. And also, it's the only game that uses the microphone, so maybe that shouldn't have been there. Maybe that shouldn't have been there. Man, it's way better to have the box with these. These are fucking tiny. You gotta hold them way up here. But, forced perspective makes it look like it's as big as my head. That's New Super Mario Bros. Honestly, I don't know, I'm really surprised because people said this game, like I said, people were saying how this game was so bad, but it actually has a lot of cool and inventive stuff, a lot of new levels, and it's constantly throwing new gimmicks and ideas at you, and it plays with all these mechanics in interesting ways. The star coins give great replay value. It's good for if you're a beginner, you just want to blaze through the game, or if you want to try to go for completion, and you can take that real challenge and try to get all those star coins and find all the routes and everything. And there is a lot of replayability and fun for beginners and veterans alike. Although it probably does skew a little more to the easy side. I'm not that great at games, so maybe if you're actually really good at games, this isn't really that tough. It could maybe be a little longer, but it's still a pretty good length, and it's a pretty fun romp. Like I said, I'm sorry I can't talk about the multiplayer because I don't know how that is. I didn't get a chance to try that. But, yeah, it's actually really good, and especially for, the first thing for, bringing back the Mario Bros. 2D gameplay, and it has a lot of new shit in here. It's great, and I do highly recommend it. If you have a Nintendo DS, I feel like this is a must-have, and it plays on a 3DS also. So, yeah, I mean, if you can find it for $20 or less, that's probably a pretty good price, and you could probably find it for that now. Maybe 25 to 30 if you're an actual really big Mario fan, because I do think it is worth checking out. It is a very fun game. And I think the new Super Mario Bros. Series gets sort of a bad rap. Maybe the later ones do that more, but this one's pretty good. What are your thoughts? Do you think that this game is a fun new look at the Super Mario Bros. Series? Do you think it is a good revitalization of the series? Or do you think that this is just lazy, uninspired crap? I mean, leave that in the comments. I'm really interested to see what you guys thought of this game and what you think of this game now as well. Whether you have, an old perspective or a fresh perspective, I'd love to hear it. That would be really fun to hear, because I'm genuinely curious on why people don't like, why people wouldn't like this game, specifically. But, I guess that mostly means that this is just one down, and 3 to go. 3 to go.